Good morning. My name is Nigel Jenney. I'm the CEO of the Fresh Produce Consortium. In my opinion, after years of government procrastination, the new UK border system will shortly be imposed on the nation, which has single-handedly created the world's most inefficient and expensive border. Ultimately, this approach imposes considerable and avoidable costs on industry and ultimately hard-pressed consumers. The government has simply ignored highly effective alternative solutions which would have maintained the same high standards at a much reduced cost. It is simply shocking at the very last minute industry is being prevented from using its own approved inspection facilities. Instead, we are now forced to use highly expensive government facilities. The cost difference is simply eye-watering. Adopting the government approach, a small business will now incur fees of around £60,000 a year, and a larger company probably over £1 million. Some might suggest this is simply a new, thinly veiled tax. It's simply unaffordable, so this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to regain our world-leading status has simply been squandered.
This week, physical checks will begin on EU shipments of animal and plant products such as eggs, dairy, meat and berries. Britain has delayed full implementation of its post-Brexit border controls on fresh products 5 times, with concerns raised about the disruption that might be caused and extra costs. Now, 70% of our fresh food comes from the EU during winter months. That falls to about 30% in warmer months, with as many as 1,000 trucks daily arriving at our ports. And someone who knows all about this, Nigel Jenney, CEO of the Fresh Produce Consortium. Hi, Nigel.
Good morning, Rachel.
What are your concerns then about these checks being implemented from this week?
Well, we're not concerned about the checks. It is the manner and the system the government is imposing on the industry to deliver those checks. That is the fundamental problem, because 2 things really. The new border strategy is highly inefficient and will cost industry, UK industry and consumers at least £200 million a year in our industry alone. Yet there are alternatives that the industry's proposed that would avoid the majority of those costs.
Well, take us through. What's the precise issue with the way in which they're going to do it, and how would you fix it?
Well, there are two key things, really. Look, as you rightly say, the government has had years to decide what its border strategy is, and that has been delayed on several occasions and is being implemented this week. However, it's only in the last couple of weeks fundamental announcements have been made by the government. One, to inform the industry what a charge will be called a common user charge, which is simply exorbitant. And if I put that in context, if I use the government facility, it will equate to almost £5,000 per inspection. If I use a commercial facility owned by our members and several others, and the government has encouraged the industry to deliver these facilities over several years, the equivalent inspection will cost £100. So there is an example of the huge inefficiency and cost that is being posed on our sector. And at the same time, we now find ourselves in a situation that those highly efficient facilities that the industry owns will not be serviced by government officials after 7 p.m. in the evening. And for those that, just accept and enjoy the great fresh produce and flowers that we enjoy, our industry works through the night to source and deliver those goods so we can enjoy them in the morning. So not having inspections through the evening and through the night means, in effect, those facilities cannot be used.
Well, the government says we are confident, these are their words, we are confident we have sufficient capacity and capability across all points of entry to handle the volume and type of expected checks. You would imagine that they've road tested this already.
It's not been road tested. Full stop. There's been a few consignments checked at their new facility in Chevington. When we go live later this week, that is when they'll start checking. But our fundamental point is this, is that there are alternative solutions in terms of the industry's facilities that would be far more efficient for industry and ultimate consumers to be used to facilitate your local wholesaler, your local retailer, but we're being prevented from using them. So we will be forced to use highly expensive facilities which are simply unnecessary.
Well, this is just sort of outright denied by what the government's told us. They say there's been extensive engagement with businesses over the past year, and they say robust analysis has shown businesses will save around £520 million each year compared with the model originally proposed. I'm guessing because it sort of streamlines everything.
Well, unfortunately not. What it does is add additional cost and bureaucracy. Is that, yes, the industry has talked to us and many other trade associations for years. The problem is you do have to listen to understand the other party's point of view. And I'll give you one example, and this is why we're so concerned. To a small wholesaler, possibly the wholesaler in your town or village or wherever that you're listening to us this morning, the cost to that small business, which is quite often a family business, is around £60,000 a year. To a large business, it's probably over £1 million. We are a small industry. So if you add those costs up, it is simply enormous across the whole of the food, drink and flour industry. So ultimately, I cannot feasibly believe that is the real cost of running the government facilities.
So what is your predictions then as to what will happen if this current system continues without reform?
A combination of things. The industry will do its best to use alternative ports of entry where inspections can be made available. Our short-term request that we asked to avoid this issue with both DEFRA and the Cabinet Office in the last few days is to provide inspectors at a very small number of facilities that would support that European trade. That has been rejected. So ultimately, if I was a European business, I would be watching and waiting, seeing what happens next, and deciding whether I, sadly, can continue to trade with the UK affordably.
And for those who say, listen, suck it up, people voted for Brexit, this is an inevitable consequence.
Well, no, that's not the case. We're compromising. What we're doing now is, in the new world we live in, what is the best opportunity to encourage the horticultural sector to trade both imports and exports in the most efficient way, most effective biosecurity manner that actually promotes our industry and develops our nation overall. And we are failing to take that opportunity. We're imposing, yet again, gold plating on gold plating.
Nigel, thank you very much for your time.